Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm Matthew McClendon. I'm the director and CEO of the McNay, and it's such a privilege to welcome you all here tonight. Before my colleague Janelle provides a fuller introduction of our guests this evening, I wanted to just add a few brief remarks of personal context. I first learned of Vanessa German's work around 2013, 2014, and was, like so many, immediately taken with it. I was fortunate that Vanessa agreed for me to include 3 of her signature sculptures in an exhibition when I was a curator at the John and Mabel Ringley Museum of Art, and even more fortunate to acquire one of those sculptures for its permanent collection. On visits to the Ringling in the years since I have departed, I am always approached by members of the community who tell me that Vanessa's sculpture is their favorite work in the contemporary collection, or they tell me how personally meaningful the work is to them for various reasons. In my time at the Ringling, I added significant works to that collection, many significant works to that collection, but none seem to have resonated as strongly as Vanessa's. 8 months after I arrived in Charlottesville, Virginia, as the director of the Fralin Museum of Art at the University of Virginia, neo-Nazis invaded the university and savaged our community, particularly our university community, as part of the infamous Unite the Right rally. As my colleagues and I considered how the museum could be a part of the healing process, only one name came to mind: Vanessa German. Through her remarkable installation, Sometimes We Cannot Be With Our Bodies, and her sustained, generous community engagement, Vanessa worked her magic and helped us all to begin healing. In coming here, it was my great delight to discover that the McNay had Vanessa's work in the collection, and that this year it is being shared across our community with our schools through the Spotlight program. I am thrilled that Vanessa's unique blend of activism, understanding, joy, and love are being woven into our community. I have watched her career rightly soar as she has won every possible well-deserved recognition, and I have marveled at how she remains completely true to herself. I have personally benefited and learned so much from Vanessa, including today at lunch. So I could not be more pleased to welcome an artist to my new community of San Antonio. So welcome to the McNay and San Antonio, Vanessa, and now Janelle will offer a fuller introduction of our distinguished guest. Thank you.
Just here. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Janelle Esparza. I'm a visual artist and head of education at the McNay. I am a light-skinned, thin-framed Tejana woman. I have long, dark brown hair with bangs, brown eyes, and I wear thick-framed glasses. I'm wearing a black and white blouse and black pants. I'd like to begin with a brief land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the San Antonio River as Yanaguana, or spirit waters in Pajalate, as the source of life for the city. We acknowledge this place known as San Antonio as the traditional homeland for many Native American peoples who are called Gualhuitecan in Spanish records, but consist of 200 tribes, bands, and clans known as the Payaya, Auteca, Paguame, Jarame, Pompopa, and Borrado, among many other Aboriginal peoples who continue to carry their traditions today. Thank you and welcome, and I know that we've all come from a lot of different places tonight. We've come from home and from work and probably from a meeting, or it's summertime, so maybe you came from your grandma's house or like a good nap if you were lucky enough. So wherever you came from, thank you so much for coming here tonight and making this time to hold space for our guest. Our guest is a self-taught citizen artist working across sculpture, performance, communal rituals, immersive installation, and photography in order to repair, reshape, and disrupt systems, spaces, and connections. In 2011, this artist founded Love Front Porch, an arts initiative for the women, children, and families of the local neighborhood that began after she moved her studio practice onto the front steps of her home. 3 years later, in 2014, she opened the Art House, which combines a community studio, garden, outdoor theater, and artist residency. In 2022, she was awarded the Heinz Award for the Arts. Other awards include the Don Tyson Prize from the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art and the United States Artist Grant in 2018. The Jacob Lawrence Award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters in 2017, and the Louis Comfort Tiffany Foundation Grant in 2015. Her work is held in private and public collections all over the United States, including the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art, the Carnegie Museum of Art in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, Illinois, among many others. I'm so glad to welcome and be here together tonight in support of Vanessa as we engage with this incredibly powerful artist and human being. And I trust that we can all listen with open hearts and minds as we welcome Vanessa German.
Greetings, what's up? Oh, thank you for responding. That's nice. It's true. It's me. I'm Vanessa. It's good to be with y'all. On the count of three, everybody say your name. 1, 2, 3. It's wonderful to meet you. I believe in the power of art. This is where we shall begin today. Have any of you had this thought and you already hold this understanding and you have articulated it to yourself before? Please raise a limb. You should get a raise a hand if you have already had this thought and you have articulated it and you know it for yourself. Thank you very much. Of the people who raise your hand, how many of you are educators? Keep your hand up if you are an art educator. You got, because if you are an art educator and you no longer believe in the power of art, it's sabbatical time. You must return to your place of original love and wanting of the arts to be restored at the great well of creativity. Because if you don't believe in it, then you operating probably with a sense of obligation, which can be very painful, and I don't want that for you. I believe in the power of art, and I believe in the power of love. And I honestly do not distinguish between those two things. I would like to know if you do believe in the power of art. You can raise your hand and tell me, but first, hold the space. What do you believe about the power of art? And being that it is powerful, what do you believe it can do? What have you experienced of this power? Holding it in the room with an open heart. Because you do not have to tell me simply what you think, you can also share what you feel. All right, somebody really wants to answer. What's your name? You, there, what's your name? Chris in the house. What's up, Chris?
Also the power of art. You know, the power of real art, not an AI art. We don't do AI art here.
This is interesting that you brought that up.
The power of art is like, what happens is the thing about art is like, it puts it in perspective of what is, for what was, for what it will be. Past, present, future.
Are you an artist, Chris?
No, I'm just a guy who likes art.
Yes? Do you have, what's your favorite art in this institution? Do you have favorite? I know that that's not necessary. Excuse the squeaky just for a second. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky. Oh, 2 thumbs up. That's what's up. Thank you. So one of the things that you're expressing to me, if I might repeat this back to you, is that one of the experiences that you have of the power of art is about how it presents time and experiences over time, past time, now time, and then a visionary space of future time.
The thing about it's like the thing about the reason I go to museums is because I feel the power. Because like I said, back when I went to art museum since I was like what? I was like 5.
So
The figure is like the figure. We preserve it in the past, so we preserve it for the future and for the people yet to come.
Yes, yes,
The people may come after my generation.
yes, they will come. And they will somehow know that you're thinking about them now. And you're thinking about the things that they will see and feel and experience. Thank you, Chris, for being the brave, brave soul to raise their hand and answer the first question. Do you sing, Chris? Are you a singer?
No, but I did karaoke.
You're practically a professional. Thank you for answering. Anybody else want to say what they believe about the power of art, what they have experienced? We're going to go with curly hair right here. I'm sure that's on your birth certificate. Curly hair, born. All right, go. What's your name, please? Natasha? Greetings, Natasha. What is it that you want to share with us?
I wanted to share that I believe art is an extremely powerful form of empathy.
And how can you give the room a living definition for empathy?
I think it's somewhere else.
Wait, I'm going to ask you to hold. What is your name? Oh, yes. Lillian? Hi, Lillian. I'm Vanessa. I enjoy your bow. May I approach you? May I ask you a question? I am too. You can't tell right now, though. Lillian, it's a beautiful name. One of, I know an amazing artist named Lillian. Are you an artist? Oh, you have a translator here. What's your name? Giselle? How do you know Lillian? So fortunate to have each other. Lillian, do you know what the word empathy means? No. When I say the word empathy, does it give you a feeling? Empathy. What kind of feeling does it give you? I often do not know either. Thank you for your interaction and your honesty. Thank you, Giselle, for translating. Thank you. All right, so Natasha is going to give us a living definition for empathy. Natasha tells us that empathy is the ability to experience someone's joy or someone's pain, pain and joy that is not ours, but we feel it. So have you ever seen somebody be really, really happy and you feel happy for them? And have you ever seen somebody feel really, really sad and then you feel sad too? And you feel sad for them? Yes, this is a living definition of empathy. It is that place of looking at someone else and saying, they're really, really happy. I can feel that. I see that. It's real. And also, they're very, very sad. I can see that. I see that they are in this place of feeling something. and I acknowledge it. And when you acknowledge it, it impacts how you would communicate with that person. It's empathy. And art, Natasha is telling us, is a bridge to be in that connection where we can see, feel, acknowledge, and respond in connection to the other human beings around us. Thank you, Natasha. Would anybody else like to give comment upon power and art and your experience? What's up? We're going to, I see you, you see me, we're looking at each other, you're smiling at me. What's your name? Okay, holla, 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 holla. Hey.
Last semester, I taught a lesson on remote, and I have students write stories about their experiences, whether good or bad, and transport them into collages that end up kind of combining together to create this real kind of like a one for quilt. And in doing so, I found a lot of people able to be very emotional, and it just kind of creates meaning in their work, and I feel like I'm kind of learning to do that as we just create art to say this.
Was that a new experience for you?
I mean, it was more, what's the word, like, I've experienced
Okay.
some level,
Yes.
but seeing these kids and their stories, especially at a time of middle school where a lot of these kids are, already and
Oh, wow. Okay.
how these kids are reacting or responding to art, and especially artists like Faith and other artists that started, not having
Yes. Yes. Okay. I thank you so much for this response. I'm gonna to the room. Poverty is intentional. This is the wealthiest nation on the planet. Poverty is intentional. People do not come from poverty. People live in poverty. And poverty is always in relationship to something else, right? We have power. We have power. And one of our first places of power is in our technology as human beings, to be in deliberate and intentional relationship with one another. It is through our relationships that we build our greatest wealth, and that we can live in our greatest and truest wealth. And it is the wealth that is born through the connections that we experience with one another's humanness, which we can experience through art, through so many different ways and places. It is incumbent upon us to build great wealth of the heart and to be utterly generous with it. All right. Okay, let's talk about what's going to happen tonight. So first thing, I'm just be honest with you, I don't even know. I got 70 slides. We definitely not gonna look at all of them. You clearly see there's a seating area. Somebody could end up being up here sitting with me, I don't know. What I can tell you I will give is and understanding. I don't know if you're going to understand it or not, but I will share information with you about my practice and about how I work, how I find materials, and then I'll give different examples of that. Because at least, that's the least I can give you to walk out of this room with. Okay. At most, we don't know yet, which is good. It's good. I would ask you, I would invite you, as Janelle already did invite you, to be present in this space now with your heart open. And if there's any obstacle that wants to become a barrier to you opening your heart in this space, I want to acknowledge that that is understandable. We live and have created many spaces in this culture that are not safe for the open heart. I will be gentle with your hearts, and I will be honorable in this space and time. So to your comfort level, please do open your heart to this time, to this space, to this moment, inviting you also into whatever courage of heart or courage of presence will be required for you individually to ask questions or to speak, so that none of you leave here thinking, I wish I had said this thing, or I should have asked this question. So evoking, bringing forward open-hearted courage in this space for all of us, and that it lives with us from this moment into all of the moments that we move forward with. We're going to talk about love, power, and living technologies of me, citizen artist Vanessa German. Also, underneath here it says materiality, consciousness, and healing as the thing itself. You will hear me say multiple times, the thing itself, the thing itself, the thing itself, and we'll talk about what that is. What I'm about to do for 20 minutes is talk really fast. You can hold on, and you can also ask questions at any point. If at any point you're like, that's not true, I'm gonna confront this lady at her talk while it's being recorded and live streamed, then you raise your hand and I'm gonna bring you up here and you're gonna have to really be with it if that's what you wanna do. But I'm here for it, I'm here for it. So you can ask a question at any time because your curiosity is actually more important than anything that I have planned. All right, let's do it. I have placed before you an image. It is an image of a human man in Africa. Does anyone recognize this image? Can anyone tell me who this man is and where he is in Africa? What's up in the back? I see you. You're the only one with your hand raised. It's you. It's you. It's still you. It's you. Hi. Yes. Hi. Greetings. This is the Cuba King, Central African Republic, Congo. This, it was summer, Los Angeles, I grew up in LA, and little, fat, dirty black girl. I was dirty all the time because we played outside and our backyard did not have grass. I was literally like a little muddy child. I grew up with a mother who taught us how to do our own hair, so I wasn't like a really aesthetically like crisp child. We were semi-feral children, and my mother would do a couple different things with us. One, my mother had 5 kids. She would get sick of us often, which completely understandable. And she would drop us off at the museum in the morning in the summer, and she'd pick us up when the museum closed. And there were 5 of us, so we made the museum our home, and people were very kind to us. And we got to know the security guards. We were little feral kids, in LA, just running free at the museum. And my mother would also, my mother had a library and a reading room in our house, and we had lots of books. And, you know, part of what we would do during the day in the summertime was we would sit on a bench in our house. It was called the reading bench, and we would all have to pull something forward to read. My mother taught us all to read before we actually entered into school. And but when I was in school, being educated by the external force of the Los Angeles Unified School District, teachers would, you know, side-eye me, and they would let me know different ways that they thought I was a stupid little girl. And yeah, if y'all don't believe, teachers do that. I bet I could talk to people in here, and some of y'all have experiences with teachers, and teachers sneered at you. I mean, teachers are human beings. And all sorts of things happen. I was a kid who I wasn't cute, and I really didn't always want to sit down. And so one summer, to prove to people that I was smart, I just began to read the encyclopedia. It's like pre-Google. It's just me with an encyclopedia trying to memorize things to prove to people that I was someone that they should treat like a whole human being. I've been doing that since I was a kid. Yo. And I came across an image of the Cuba King, and it paralyzed me, it seized me, it got stuck in my throat, it held around my head when I dreamed. I was like, what is it about this image that has captivated me? What's happening in this image? Like, why? It's the first time I saw a cowrie shell, didn't know what a cowrie shell was. It's the first time I saw a cowrie shell in an image, and it was probably 20, 25 years before I touched a cowrie shell for real. And they were the most precious things in the world to me at one point, and I didn't understand how plentiful they were. So one of the things that I learned about the Cuba King is, and what the Cuba King wears, is that everything is made on purpose, and it's made to do different things, and it is this sort of communal making, generations, millennia of power, and everything in it means something, and it's overwhelming. That's what really took me up about this image of the Cuba King wearing this garment that made me wonder if he could actually move in the garment. So holding this inside of you, this probably maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, when I saw this image, and it stayed with me, and I didn't know much about it except it was the Cuba King. In the encyclopedia, all it said was the Cuba King. So moving forward, I'm a citizen artist. You see an image of 4 of my female ancestors. This is on a plantation in Alabama in the early 20th century, a quilt of the Black Madonna that my mother made. My mother was the fiber artist, Sandra German, and an image of cute little Vanessa German in the middle of this. And I have given myself the title citizen artist. I am a self-taught artist. Who are other self-taught artists in the room right now? Who are artists in the room? Okay, thank you. Raise your hand if you're a self-taught artist. I would argue, please sit if you would like to argue with me. I'd argue that all artists are self-taught artists. All art, so we'll talk, I'll share some more about that. But there is, well, I'll do it now. I believe that being an artist is an entire, whole, and complete identity as a human being. I believe that it is actually not a vocation. It is something that you can do as a vocation, but to be an artist is whole. And you are whole as an artist the entire time. So you go to school and you find out you learn different techniques, you learn language, you learn art history. But to be an artist is a complete human existence. And you are in relationship with your artist, which is about the conversations you have with yourself when you're drawing. It's the conversations you have with yourself when you're searching for your material. How many of you, anybody in here work with fabric? How many fabric people learn to listen to the way the fabric feels in their fingers? Right? Who can teach you that? Anybody work with glass, wood, anything? Like, people who blow glass can feel the temperature and know what the glass is doing by how the heat moves up the puni, honey. You know? Like, who can teach you that? That's you having to listen to your body, to your breath, to the way your heart's beating when you come across fabric that has a certain weave, it has a certain texture. You have to listen to that. Nobody can tell you what that voice is. So when I think about artists being self-taught, it is about the artist that you are teaching you about the artist that you are, and you being in relationship with that. Okay, cool, we're gonna move on. So quickly, power figure to keep me alive. I came to a point in my life where I did not necessarily want to continue forward with my life, and I did this experiment on myself where every day for 6 months I did only exactly what I wanted to do and what felt right to me, which, you know, I'm a fat black queer woman on this land. I was never supposed to have freedom of resources. I was never supposed to, it was not in the engineering of the humans we call the founding fathers of this land that black women at all would ever have the opportunity to ask themselves the question, what do I feel like doing, and then be able to answer it. You recognize that, right? So I didn't realize how radical that was until I started telling people I did this and hearing folks respond. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is the myth of laziness, and just me waking up every day and I'm going to do what feels right. There is sort of this projection that people who do what they want to do and what they feel like doing are lazy. Is anybody in here an entrepreneur and you're doing what you want to do and you're doing what feels right for you and you work 87 hours a week? Right, so it doesn't mean, like, we don't always need people to tell us what to do. I'm suspicious of that. So every day for 6 months, I do this experiment on myself where I leave the house with my little dog and I take 2 plastic bags, one's for poop and one's for me to pick up anything that I want to pick up off the ground, anything that feels right to me. Because for me, I'm thinking at the end of the 6 months, I don't know if I'm gonna be breathing anymore. So I'm gonna do exactly what feels right, exactly what I want to do. And so I'm picking up keys, I'm picking up rusted old beer bottle caps, I'm picking up weave hair that has, I don't know how the people lost their weave hair. I don't know, but the hood was plentiful with tumbleweave. And I would pick it up off the ground and I would bring it home. And I wouldn't always bring the things that I found outside on the ground or that I dug out of the earth into my house. I, for some reason, would take my plastic bag and I would lay out the things in the sun. And I would tell myself that they were being cleansed. And I wouldn't bring them into my house until it felt right. And so one of the technologies that I honed into over the course of this 6 months was just the ability to hear myself again. Because I'm a little, listen, don't get mad, but as a little black girl, nobody wanted to listen to me. Like, my mother wanted to listen to me. My mother had a bumper sticker on her car that said, "Question authority," which got me in trouble so much. Because I would question authority at school, and I would be sent to the office, and they would call my mother, and they'd be like, "Well, Vanessa seemed to have a problem with the Pledge of Allegiance today. She wanted to know if liberty and justice was really for everybody, or this," and they would be like, "And so she's in the office because that was problematic for the teacher." And then she got here to the office and she told us, "Well, my mother is Van, says question authority." And my mother is like, it's like, it does say that. But what I found was that people more so wanted me to sort of repeat things than to bring up anything of my own ideas. They wanted me, you know, how you memorize things, and they wanted me to live a memorized existence. And my soul was deeply resistant to that. I felt like it was going to kill me if I continued to live that way. So I have to go back. I lost my train of thought a little bit. I'm picking up things and I'm inside of this technology in my studio with all these objects that just felt right to me. Keys, hair, bottles, things that people were throwing out. I was the girl who would go through the neighborhood on trash day and just pick up anything and bring it home. And I didn't care what people thought about, which was new to me. I had to spend so much of my existence caring what other people thought about me and caring what other people thought about my life and my choices. But for me, this was a matter of life and death. I'm like, I don't care that you see me dragging this ironing board out of your trash, Miss Brown. Like, it is a good thing for me to work on because it's at the right height, you know? And so I'm like, it's just me, the black girl dragging your trash up the hood to my house. And that process of listening, pay attention to the things that spark off inside of me. And so I paid attention to them. But also when I got to my studio, which was just like the little moldy basement, a Pittsburgh basement is what they call it, and I would find a lot of wood, the neighborhood in Pittsburgh had a lot of vacant houses, abandoned houses, and a lot of building material that you would just find in lots. And I would bring wood home and I would just stack wood obsessively in my basement for a little while, and I would make these configurations of just old 2x4s and 2x10s, and I would stop when the configuration felt like what I call yes. And I trained myself through working with all these objects that felt right to me to hear what I called the frequency of yes, which those of you in here who are artists, who are in touch, and who are keeping data on your own studio experience, what's happening to you when you're making art? What happens to you when you listen to music when you make art? What happens to you when you have silence in your studio? And you're keeping all of that data. You're honing in and elevating the volume on your own frequency of yes. Every artist has their own frequency of yes, which is just the frequency of the voice of your being, working with the material that you're working with and the way that you work with it. This is not about repetition or imitation. It is about the singularity of your existence, of you bringing the yes up out of your soul. And I couldn't hear it for so long. And I think that it was killing me. It was suffocating me. And so 6 months, I turn up the volume on this frequency of yes, and it was this work of art. It's called Power Figure to Keep Me Alive. And what I found was that in the process, I became different. How many artists in here you experienced that? You're different. Time feels different. Maybe you eat less and you drink more water, but something sort of, and it is the same state of consciousness that we call flow. It's the same state of consciousness that Michael Jordan would get into when he would just shoot those free throws over and over and over again for hours after the basketball game. You go to a different place. We have always been our own portal. So, Power Figure to Keep Me Alive. It kept me alive. And when I made 6 power figures over the course of 6 months, and I called them power figures because at the end of that time, I could look at my hands and I was still alive. And I thought, oh, this is a powerful thing. I'm still here. My mind is different. My heart is different now. And that I would also listen to, somebody gave me a box collection of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, and I would listen to the speeches, and I would listen to the sound of his voice, and I would be like, why does he sound so different? Saying things that people say, people talk about love, people read Bible verses, like, why does Dr. King sound different? And I realized it's because he's the thing itself. He's not just telling you, like when Emmett Till was killed, and King spoke at that funeral, and he said, love is the only way. Love is the only creative, redemptive, transformative power in the universe. Without love, we will descend in a spiral of violence and destruction for everyone. Love is the only way. And he's saying that to a room, hundreds of people who really, you bore witness to something that was so stunningly, languagelessly horrific. If King told people, everybody pick up a brick, everybody go out, everybody just rage, they would have done it. But he didn't say that. He's like, you could kill liars every day of the week, but it doesn't kill the lie. And I would listen to him, and I was like, why he sound different? And I was like, oh, he's not talking about love. He has transmuted the body. He is love. So every word that he says, what I'm listening to is the actual sound of love, which is why it feels different to me. And this is where I took up love as a material force, a material with which to form and to transform other materials. So love for me is an actual material. This is the entire process that got me to this place. I have given you my whole artist talk. Wait. I know. It's embarrassing sometimes. But I very rarely feel embarrassment anymore. I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Wild things happen to me. I'm like, what? Look what just happened. For example, my weave fell out when I was doing a studio visit once, and I was like, look! So this process is a very small child being seized by this image of the Kuba King, living 20-something years and coming to a place where I'm like, oh, life is real hard if all you do is work to pay your mortgage and your car note. Woo! Don't want to live like this. Let me see if I can live another way. I found another way to live by trusting myself, by listening to the voice on the inside of the inside. I wish I could tell you something profound today, but everything I'm telling you, you have heard before. I am just living proof that it is true, it is real, and it is good. So making 6 power figures, trusting my instincts with the material that I'm picking up, going through a communication process with the material. So I'm picking up the bottle caps, I'm laying them out and I'm looking at them. I'm considering them. Why are these interesting to me? I'm in communication with the material. As every artist who is in this room, you are also in a relationship with your material. You are communicating with it, and we take that seriously, right? So at the end of this 6 months, I put a couple of these objects into like some little summer festival. A man walked by the booth and he looked at this piece and he was like, oh, you're doing that thing that they do in the Congo. And I was like, I don't understand. I don't know what you're talking about. And he was like, the thing with the nails. And I was like, I don't know. And he looked at me, he goes, I said, I just picked these nails up because I liked them. They were rusty. They were outside of my mom's studio. And he looked at me and he goes, he's like, you should really do some research because you apparently are intuitively doing things that have been done for thousands of years, and you're doing them for the same reason. You're using them. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I think you should really do some research. And so Dr. Etta Fields Black, who is a Gullah Geechee pre-colonial African history expert, works at Carnegie Mellon University and is a friend of mine. And I was like, what, like, this man said this thing, and she said, yeah, do you know where most of the captives who were brought to this country as slaves were brought from? And I said, no, they came from the Congo and Sierra Leone. And I was like, oh, so I'm doing something intuitively, instinctively, from a place of living freedom that has been done by people I could be connected to because I am a descendant of enslaved Africans, and we can only chase the line back but so far because the rupture that was the transatlantic slave trade. And I said, God, I wonder what else is already inside of me. So that began my practice of working from a place of deep soul, intuition, and honest love. Let's move forward, shall we, homies? I went from making singular, discrete objects. This is gonna go fast. Does anybody have a question right now? What's up? Red and black. All I can do is call you by whatever rest is. I know. It's good. If people in here were creatures, I'd be like, tail. Butterfly with that head. Okay, go on.
Why did you choose that first? What was your first bullet, the collection of progressive?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
The first bullet?
Yeah, that just tells you what collection this is in. And I'm telling you this, oh, sorry, did I interrupt you? Did you ask the full question? This artwork, this is important. I honor the fact that you asked this question. when I made this body of work, I was living so far below the poverty level that I didn't have running water. I would collect rainwater in a Home Depot bucket off of a broken gutter out the back of a window of a place I was squatting in. And I really was deciding whether or not I was going to remain in my life, so it didn't matter to me. And the lessons that life had taught me was that you have to make money to pay bills, to eat, to live your life, and there are these sort of options for how you can do that. You can go to college, you can do this. Nothing ever told me, and I did not ever have the understanding that I could just do what felt right for me and that it could sustain my life, right? And like truly sustain my life, not just give me the opportunity to make enough capital, enough money to pay bills and do stuff. That's not what I mean. But I mean to be sustained, to be nourished, to enjoy waking up in the morning. I hadn't felt like waking up in the morning for a long time. I was terrified of the morning because it meant I would have to keep myself alive for a whole day. Some of y'all are nodding like, you've been there with that. It's a thing. And so what happened, thank you so much for asking this question. Oh, my friend, yes, I know. It's not like that now for me either. All right. There was a juried exhibition for Associated Artists of Pittsburgh, and I didn't have a car. I put my little objects in a box, and I put them on the bus, and we went to this juried exhibition, where people brought their art, and a juror walked around and was like, you can be in the show, you can be in the show. The juror happened to be from the Met at that time. So they grabbed my little power figures I made in like a moldy basement. My friends saw my basement where I made work, and they were like, Vanessa, this is dangerous. They were like, that's black mold. You shouldn't be breathing this, and you don't have any ventilation down here. Which was like, I couldn't even see it. I couldn't see it. That man, human, gave my work 2 awards. And so it was in the Associated Artists of Pittsburgh show. And then it won the Arcus Award. Arcus was the director of the Carnegie Museum of Art. And then it got a gallery show at a two-person gallery show at a commercial gallery. An art dealer from New York was in Pittsburgh to see the Duchamp show at the Warhol, and was at a party at the gallery where my work was, and somebody said to that man, hey, yeah, you like this kid's work. And they were like, well, what else do you have to show us? And I went back and I showed them my MySpace page. And that dealer, y'all can't take you anywhere. That dealer came to my house the next day and bought everything I made, bought each of these objects for between probably $3,000 and $5,000 each. Whoa. So, this is what's on the other side of the equation. Can you make a life that sustains you by doing what you love and what feels right? So the other side of the equation was yes, for me. I often didn't have electricity. And I definitely didn't have water, because water was the one I was like, I'll figure water out. But I would try to keep the electricity on, to keep the refrigerator on. The first work that went into a collection was Power Figure to Keep Me Alive. It is the work that showed me if I keep my hands busy making this art, I will not have time to destroy my own self. But that's not just what happened. I didn't just not destroy myself. I found myself. And when I found her, she was and always had been an artist. So, all right, we're gonna move fast. Because I'll be honest, I have no idea what time it is right now. But everything else is just examples of the same thing. But I'm gonna show you something cool too. I went from making, who snickered when I said I was gonna show you something cool? I went from making single objects to making entire community objects. I no longer make single discrete objects. It does not happen anymore. Making entire communities of objects. This is from an installation called I Come to Do Violence to the Lie. You heard where that quote came from. This is an entire 31 life-size or a little larger than life-size female-centered power figures, and they have the power to do things like they kill the lie. And the lie that they are killing is the lie of separation. And, okay. Y'all might not be ready for that phrase, so I held it and we moved on. Did you see how it happened? So didn't have enough space in the studio in Pittsburgh to shoot the work, so we would always take it outside to the alleyway. And that's where I learned, like, one of the ways, bringing art outside and outside of institutions into the living realm, best artist talks ever. So one of the things that I found about making entire communities of art, it was the beautiful connection to the Thich Nhat Hanh quote, which basically says the next great revolutionary leader is probably not going to be a single individual, but will be an entire community of people, right? So I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I work in communities of people. Yes, all good love, all good love. So I'm going to move. This is the show that Matthew showed at McNay Museum. It began at the Mattress Factory. I'm going to show you a little bit of this, and then I'm going to show some, I'm going to move very quickly and show you some images at the end. And what's up? I have 5 minutes, 5 real minutes, or 5 fake minutes. She said I have 15 minutes. It's about to get really, really, really fast. Does anybody have a question right now? What's up? What's your name? Aiko.
I was wondering, you said that you
Wait, I'm going to give you a microphone. Actually, just come here, please. Thank you. Your mic sounds nice. Check one. You know that song? What? Nothing. Do you want to sit?
Not really.
You don't have to sit here.
I don't care.
Wait.
Which one?
I would not trust me to hold the mic for you. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
Does this work?
Yeah. Take it to the audience with you. If you stand here, Aiko. This is Aiko. Aiko?
Yeah.
Yes. Ask your question.
So in the beginning you said that you take it from other people's trash bins in the very beginning, but what do you take it from now? Because in the one in the front, exhibit Womanish, where does that come from? Like, where do you
Great
take it from?
question. All right. Thank you. Where do I get this? I think what Aiko wants to know is there trash in the McNay artwork? I feel like that is pulling distinction, right? Yes. There, I was looking at it. I haven't seen that work in person for years. And I was looking at it, and there's a piece of green wood at the top of that piece that came from my wood collection, from picking up stuff from abandoned houses in my neighborhood. I had that piece of wood for a long time before I used it, So you'll go back and look at it. There's a green piece of wood that is molding from a house that now is totally torn down. But do you know the wild thing is, I know where everything came from. Like, I could stand in front of that piece and I could be like, the artist Dee Briggs gave me that gold framework. Their mother lived in West Virginia and was a laundry woman in West Virginia and had all these funny paintings, and Dee Briggs, the sculptor, gave me those gilt frames. You have another question? What's up? The anatomical heart. I am very attracted to images of the anatomical heart, and I probably got that from an educational services place. The other hearts I found were too easily destructible. Yeah, so that's a teaching model. It's a teaching model. Yeah, does anybody else have a question? Everybody has questions. Excuse me, that wasn't cute. Oh. What was your question in the back? White supremacy, right? Because it's white supremacy to have power gives itself the power to separate everything, you from nature. Even though you are nature, it will separate you from your dreams. Like, literally your human dreams, as like dreams that you have for yourself, but also it will place separation between your attempt to comprehend your dreams. Like, that's what white supremacy's ultimate power was, to separate. Because it separated itself and said, we have the power to say that you can only stay in that room and you only cook, right? And so the lie is the lie of white supremacy. Love can't exist in white supremacist delusion. Okay. You know, I owe you all an apology, because I should have just said it the first time, but sometimes when I talk about white supremacy, the way white people talk to me after I end a talk and come up to me, it's like with all these challenges, I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know, like, I do not want to leave San Antonio with like white people following me through a museum, trying to convince me that white supremacy isn't real, which happens all the time. And that the delusion is the delusion that black people and minority people and gay people are equal. I'm not doing that today. So, who said that? Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. When people call me an activist, I always have the biggest internal sigh. I'm always like, because the reality is, any assertion that I make in my body on this land of my own humanity just ends up being an act of activism. If I ask the police to stop beating my brother, that is activism, even though I'm like, why, I shouldn't, that's not, why is it an activist act to say Black Lives Matter? Why isn't it just obvious? Like, why did that one administration say that Black Lives Matter was a hate group? Because my life matters, then that takes value from your life. Like, there's no stand where we are valuable as human beings, or you can experience that there's been a systemic and strategic, brutal devaluing of the life. I'm interested in wholeness. The root word, healing, comes from the Greek word for whole. I'm interested in wholeness, but not just for myself. Because for me to want wholeness and value wholeness for myself means that I would have to spend some of my life only for myself or for fat black queer people. If I only believed in that for me, then I would have to spend some of my precious human life force energy in keeping somebody else from being whole, which is what white supremacy does, which is why love cannot exist there. It was 5 minutes, it wasn't 15. Yeah, wait, I thank you all for your time and your attention. I'm gonna take these last 2 questions and I'm so grateful for you all. I'm so grateful for your love and your generosity of presence here. What's up in the back? What's up? Wait, hold on, we're gonna have somebody give you a mic. Giselle, could you run back there and give him that mic, please? Go on.
Okay.
He's right back there.
Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay. All right. I was very much impressed with your assertion that art is sort of the haven of the humane, or the haven of what is left of liberal identity or individuality and so on. That was very, very impressive to me. But I also detect in your work that search for humanity, but at the same time, I detect in your work a great deal of anger. And wait, a great deal of anger, and I wonder how much of that anger is directed at things that we can't control. You talked brilliantly, I thought, about materiality, but you didn't go into technology. And technology, to me, is one of the great threats to individualism, and I'm wondering how you would reconcile that. Are you angry? You don't have to answer if you don't.
No, right now I'm sharing my video with you. Does anybody, what's a living definition for anger? Who can give us a living definition for anger? Yes, love.
Opposite of love.
What's your name?
Annalisa.
Annalisa, you're connected to Giselle.
Correct.
And you're connected to
Lillian.
Lillian. Thank you. So there's a technical definition for anger. I'm going to tell you. Anger is the emotional expression of injustice. It is the emotional expression of injustice, which is this, according to the lady with the scales, this is justice. The scales are balanced. Anger is when you express the feeling that comes from this. So it's the emotional expression of injustice, and it's always in motion. Anger is not a stopping place for any human beings, because emotion is energy in motion. So am I angry? I'm angry when I'm angry. This is pain. That's saying, it hurts. They're eating and I'm not eating. Why do they have food? Right? White supremacy, that whole technology, the white supremacy exists as a technology, gave itself the power to separate you even from your emotional expression. So when you even have legislation that is about gender or how people express life through their body, like if it's drag or like anything, okay, excuse me, hold on one second. Okay. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna teach right now. Thanks, sorry. Okay. So I am angry when I'm angry. And when I'm angry, I'm in a lot of pain. It hurts so much to know that when Breonna Taylor was shot, she didn't die right away. Because the people who shot her know for their work life-saving technology. And they just left her there to die for 20 minutes. And we know from battlefield medicine, just from, like, I listen to NPR, so I'm like, doctors on the battlefield know 3 ways to immediately keep somebody alive long enough from the battlefield to get them to a hospital. It's the same life-saving information that our paramedics and people know now. And that's so hurtful, and it makes me angry, and it's frightening for all sorts of different reasons. Yes, I'm angry. Oh, God. Okay, and technology. Technology, I actually think one of the things I work within is human technology. And so I'm actually going to talk about sort of technology born of intellectual engineering machinations of the human brain. I'm going to talk about human technology. For me, the basis of human technology is all lives within the realm of love, which is creative understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill. So courage, vulnerability, and then sort of engaging with freedom, engaging with liberty. Liberty is the soul's right to breathe. Engaging and communicating with your own sense of consciousness, in experimenting with consciousness, experimenting with I'm interested in human technology. Okay. Last question. Thanks. I'm going to take a question from this young human right here. Thank you so much.
What do you feel when you see other works of art that are just like yours?
Oh, okay. This is a great question. I really love when people ask me how I feel when I look at art, right? Because I'm a self-taught artist. I did not go to college or university, and I did not study art from someplace else. So a lot of times my interactions, my experiences with art have been birthed forward from a place of feeling, which has always sort of been it's a place of ridicule. I've definitely heard from curators, museum professionals, educators in the collegiate academic world. I literally have had people tell me, do not talk about what you feel because people will not take you seriously. So I take you very seriously, and I'm going to tell you what I feel. And I'm going to ask you what you feel also. So one of the things I will say is I do not necessarily see work that looks just like mine. But I see work that sometimes feels the way that I feel when I'm making art. So when I walk through a museum, I walk through the museum to feel resonance. And resonance is where there is a place of like feeling. So this is when something is in sort of like an aligned resonance. So I walk through the museum with my heart open, and I walk through to feel what calls to me. Some paintings are like, come here. Like that Diego Rivera painting, it's like, come here, come close. Look at this little girl. Look at the square that she's standing on. Oh, look at that color. And it is the reason why I can engage with that painting is because I felt something, right? And so there are times when I'm working in my studio where the feeling of what I'm making is so clear to me that I feel like I am repeatedly with every breath that I take, that I'm falling in love. Have you ever been in love?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you know what I mean. So what I feel when I walk through a museum and I look at people's work is I can feel the place of love that they experience when they made that work of art. So I can feel that the machine of empathy inside of me connects with the love that that artist experiences when they made whatever object I'm looking at. When I look at Diego Rivera's work, I feel his love. What do you feel? Do you know the painting I'm talking about, the Diego Rivera painting?
No, ma'am.
It's upstairs in the house part of the museum. Somebody here can show you where it is. But there's also prints of it. But can you tell me how you feel when you see art?
I feel the material, I feel the object, I feel like...
What do you feel?
I feel the pureness, like the feeling. What I feel is I don't.
Yes. So I want to acknowledge that sometimes it is very difficult to put feelings into words because you live a feeling. Your experience, you become the feeling. And sometimes the feeling doesn't have words. It might have color. It might have movement. And so I think for you to say, I feel the pureness of it, we understand that. And we thank you so much for speaking that. I want to say thank you for you all for being here, and I want to thank you all for every question that was asked, and for your attention, for your laughter, and for your humanity. And I offer blessings of peace and deep health and safety and love and awakening to you all as you move forward from this place. Artists, may you know who you are. Teachers, may you be recognized, affirmed, valued, and compensated for your value. And for those of you who might be in pain of the body, heart, or soul, I do pray that that pain be lifted and lessened, that you might move forward with a sense of freedom and pureness in your heart and your body and your mind and your soul. With infinite gratitude and infinite grace, I thank you for this time and for your attention. May you be perfectly well.
Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.